Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, wealth builders. I am so excited to come to you guys before we wrap the day because I just got off an incredible call with Mark King. He's a welcome to the cause. He is just a very smart guy, right? He's just a very smart guy. And the reason why I say that he's smart is because he has spent a lot of time not just leading large organizations like I'm a part of. However, he has also spent a lot of time studying money and wealth. And so it was an incredible call. And of course, you guys know right now I'm just in the season of just getting you guys the information without waiting for it to be fancy in production. And I wanted to talk to you because wealth is this big thing, right? Like we're all excited about the idea of building wealth and building legacies, and yet we don't really kind of know what to do with that. I shared in my stories, not everything hits the feed, yet I shared in my stories that one of the things that I am excited about is that in 2025 I am on the board of directors for Habitat for Humanity in advancing Black homeownership. And so yesterday we are on a call and we're talking about all of the nuances that have contributed to the wealth gap in America, specifically for Black Americans. And so one of those things, of course, is homeownership. And we can honor the reality that this country has not done right by Black folks in regards to making it accessible to build wealth. And some of those things are still in place today. We see them in our communities. We see them in disparities with income and housing and a lot of the vehicles that people are using to change their families' legacies. And yet we still have to solve for X, right? We still have to find the solution. And part of that means that we have to grow into the conversation. The other day, I talked about laws. Laws are these set of beliefs that you have for your life, right? Different from truths, which are absolute. Laws are what you govern yourself by, much like the country. And so one of the laws that I choose to believe for my life is that people grow into the conversations around them. And you can take that however you choose. Whatever you're listening to, chances are you kind of fall into whatever that narrative is, right? So to be intentional about where I choose to be in life, I intentionally surround myself with people that are really good at what they do or have mastered their craft. And this shows up in all of the areas, right? Maybe they're good people. Maybe they're really good at building family. Maybe they're really great at community. Maybe they're really great at wealth. Maybe they got something about them that I admire about, and I like to talk to them, ask them questions so that way I can grow. That's the number one. So I'm on the call with Mark King and Gabby Davis, who is the operating principal at one of our market centers in Atlanta. A market center is a place of business that helps real estate agents build wealth. And so shout out to both of them. So I'm on the call, right? And Mark is just boom, hitting, like just gems, right? Like I got my notes. I'm going to try to follow up with them, but he's hitting with the gems. So I wanted to share with you guys a few things that he talked about on the call. And this is going to be for everybody, and there's going to be definitely some moments that are specifically for real estate agents. So if you guys are on here, thank you so much for tuning in. So number one, I want to talk about the 7 things. First, I want to say this was a bar. This one kind of stopped me in my tracks. And he said, yes, there are disparities to this country. I'm not quoting him. This is my interpretation. Yes, there are things that have happened in this country that have adversely affected our community. However, we must take responsibility for the poor financial decisions that we are making in our life. And so, you say, well, what are you talking about, right? Because nobody wants to hear that the reason that they're not rich is because they go to Starbucks, right? However, generally, how you do one thing is how you do most things. And so maybe it's Starbucks here, maybe it's a vacation there, maybe it's a new car there, right? Dave Ramsey says, the reason why you are broke is because you cannot tell your inner child no. And so what does this mean? Well, we have to understand that there is going to be a timeline to building wealth. And the people that are trying to sell you wealth over how to get rich in 90 days, Those are scams. Y'all be mad about scams, but then every time Black Friday comes and everybody releases an e-course, it's like, oh, that's going for $279. That's going to make it happen. That's going to make it work, right? So he said, we have got to start taking responsibility for the bad decisions that we are making in our lives, and it is important to adult and grow up around money rather than making excuses. Now, you can do what you want with that information. I'm not here to judge. I'm just learning just like you guys. I said I was on the call, not hosting the call, right? So I am a student. He said 87% of people have no budget at all, and the 13% who do rarely stick to it regularly. Tracking your budget is essential if you plan on building wealth, because you have to study a thing. So we see all these stories of these overnight success stories where money instantly comes into their life. Think the lottery, think somebody that got drafted, think somebody that got an inheritance, think somebody, right? So we're teaching people like the path of wealth, yet we're not teaching them the laws of money. So what happens is they get wealth and then they blow it, right? Most Americans spend their wealth. He had an interesting fact. He said most of us are spending right now $200 a month on subscriptions. What y'all think about that? I don't know. When's the last time you watched Hulu? But these are things that come out of our account, right? And a lot of times, they say it's not the iceberg that ships your sink. It may have sunk the Titanic, but it's not the iceberg in your life. It's the small holes. And those small holes are those $9.99 subscriptions that all of us have that we have not even opened. We haven't even used it. I have the thing on the iPhone. It'll say your least used apps. Are you paying for apps that you rarely use? It's just something to think about. So he talked about that, and then he talked about, like I said, 7 things that I learned. So I'm going to run real quick through them. Number 1, he said, understand the difference between an accountant and a tax strategist, because that is going to save you money. He said an accountant might be able to tell you, like, hey, go ahead and buy this truck, buy this new vehicle because it's a write-off and you can, save X amount on taxes. However, that might not be the great way for you to build wealth, right? Because you still have to finance that. You still have a payment on that. And you have to ask yourself, is this keeping me from putting my disposable income into a vehicle that could actually appreciate and build wealth, right? Whether that's through a savings or whether that's through an investment fund or anything like that. He said, avoid over leveraging other people's money. Now, I can talk about this because especially during the pandemic when rates were low, for example, a lot of people were financing properties through hard money. A lot of you guys know my story. I've done flips in Houston, Harris County. And one of the ways that we acquired flips were foreclosed properties that were financed through hard money, right? And that's generally because, yes, the interest rate is higher. Yes, because you don't necessarily have the team around you to properly flip this property in the shortest amount of time and still of quality, so that way you can sell it, so you end up having to repay on this debt and you're not in a position to do so. That's how people lose money in flips, right? And so this is super popular. Everybody is successful in a great market, right? Everybody's in real estate. Everybody's flipping. Everybody's a builder. Everybody's doing all the things because the market is hiding your mistakes. You're not selling houses in a day because you're a super salesperson. You're selling houses in a day because it's 2 houses on the market and 50 people looking for a house. So of course you sold it over money, right? And so he said, avoid over leveraging when other people's money when investing in real estate. And especially what we're seeing right now, because home prices, right, they've appreciated by 40%, and yet rental rates have not, right? And so you're looking to over leverage yourself on this investment property. Yeah, real estate is good, yet the strategy may need to change, because if you can't cover your expenses with that lease amount, well, now you're upside down. And that's why we're starting to see a lot of people, especially investors that may have leveraged other people's money, needing to cash out because the rental rates are not keeping up with the market prices, right? And so that's a good reason why you want to make sure you have your team. I'm going to talk about board of directors too. You want to have your team, especially when it comes to real estate advising, investing, because number one, real estate is local. Not all markets are the same, right? So the advice that I'm giving you guys for Houston, Harris County is not the same advice that somebody in California or DC, Maryland, Virginia. Everybody's answer is going to be different because everybody's market is going to be different. And so it's important that you have that in mind. Number three, he said you want to track your expenses and closely create a spending plan. He said, not just a budget, a spending plan. When will you invest? How will you invest? Where will you invest? And identify the areas that you need to cut unnecessary expenses. And the only way that you're going to know where to cut is if you play red light, green light, and actually look at your money on a regular basis, hopefully, 2 times a week, and see, okay, yeah, I'm investing money in this. Am I actually getting a return here? He shared an example of an agent had a billboard, swore up and down about the billboard, and then when they looked at the end of the year, not one source of business came from that billboard, and yet they were spending $3,500 a month on that, right? That sounds like $70,000 if you look at it over the course of a year. So are you tracking your expenses? Are you holding them accountable? The fourth thing, invest in your own personal development. Now, I know a lot of people are looking for a mentor. They're looking for a sponsor. They're looking for a coach. And if you are not yet in that, the question is, what are you listening to? Who are you surrounding yourself with? So that way you can grow in that area until you can invest in that area. Right? And so who are you listening to? What podcasts are you listening to? Right? Mark has a podcast in a mastermind group. It's called Wealth Building to the Cause. And I love it because once a week he's talking about money and he's answering questions. And I know a lot of people say, well, we weren't taught this growing up. Amen. It is now your responsibility to learn, right? Because nobody's coming to save you, right? We can't acknowledge something and then avoid it, right? Like if that's your truth, if that's what you believe, then how will you choose to save yourself? What are you going to listen to? Who are you going to learn from? What are you going to study? What are you going to read? Okay, so then he said, shop insurance policies, because you have to understand that insurance companies are designed to minimize their exposure, not yours. So right now, for example, insurance policies are coming, especially in home insurance, and they're like triple what some of us have been paying. And he said the thing is that most of our insurances have not been keeping up with the pace of housing. So I just said that if housing increasing by 40% and your insurance has just been the same since you bought it 5 years ago, 10 years ago, well, then there's a gap, right? So are you keeping up with that? Are you regularly looking at your insurance policies? Don't just get insurance and then just say, oh, well, I got insurance. I chose this insurance when I closed on my house. I haven't looked at it anymore. It's going to be high. You need to be able to shop that. I like to, in November, start making phone calls. And from the call, I should probably start looking at it even more throughout the year. But around like October, November, I start calling all of my insurance partners and I start asking them for quotes because I want to make sure, am I overpaying for insurance? That is something that can definitely, if you have a car, right? You might have a car, you're overpaying for insurance, right? Don't rely on just one quote. Get multiple quotes. Number 6, and then he said, become the go-to expert in your craft. Right? What do you do well, or what do you choose to study so that you can do it well? I share with you guys, I'm in Houston, Harris County. I believe I know Houston, Harris County well. I get on the internet, people try to talk to me and tell me what's going on in my city. You can't tell me that, sir, because I study this, right? I study this full time and I've been studying it. So I may not know a lot about everything, but I do know about that. Are you surrounding yourself or putting yourself in a space to where you are the go-to expert for your craft? And so, good afternoon, Stacy, shout out. And then finally, he said, you want to make sure that you have your own personal board of directors. And I'm going to share with you guys exactly who he said those was, because I'm not going to cliffhanger you guys. I promise I'm not going to do that. But he said, you want to make sure that you have your own board of directors. If the top 500, the top 50, top 100, whatever, if they have a board of directors, right? You think about Amazon, Tesla, Habitat for Humanities. If they all have board of directors, then why don't you? Why are you the smartest person you know? So you're the only person you're supposed to know all things. In Quantum Leap, we say you can't know it all, have it all, or do it all. So if that's the case, then who are you surrounding yourself with to leverage your knowledge so that way you're not required to be the expert in all things, right? And so when he talks about his board of directors, these are the 5 people that he says that you need to have on your board of directors. I want you guys to write this down. Number 1 is a tax strategist. And he emphasized that a tax strategist is different than an accountant because a strategist is somebody who actually specializes in tax planning that can help you minimize your taxes. Number 2 is a financial planner. He said this is different than an advisor because you should be giving yourself advice. Now, I'm going to tend that and think about it and come back to it. Yeah. He said you need a financial planner, right? The key thing that I'm noticing is that what is the plan for your life? Are you just kind of out here like YOLO and hoping it all falls and works out for the best? Number 1 is a tax strategist. Number 2 is a financial planner. Number 3 is an accountant, right? Because you do want somebody that's going to be able to handle your bookkeeping and your accounting needs. Number 4 is an insurance agent, somebody that can help you shop policies annually to ensure that you are getting the base rates. And then number 5 is a real estate agent. That's me. Your real estate agent is going to be able to advise and guide you, especially around investment properties. And here's the thing, because I know I have a lot of agents on the call, on the live right now. Even if you are in real estate, you still want to have a real estate advisor, because more than likely your highest best use of time at some point, maybe not now, yet maybe later, may not be sourcing and scouting deals, right? So the goal is to be able to have the right people in your life that can tell you what you need to know, and then honoring that relationship, like actually getting in relationship, not just like, oh, I know of this person, right? What is the agreement between you two, so that way they can keep you in ahead of what you need to know, right? Hey, this property is coming up. I think this is a great deal. It's going to be below market. It's going to be below your average cost of investment, right? I think you should take a look at this. Do you have people that are presenting you with these ideas? I remember back in the day, some people would always say, hey, keep me in mind if you have a great deal. And I used to be like, why? First of all, we don't have an agreement, a relationship, a representation. If a good deal comes across my desk, first of all, selfishly, I'm going to see, should I buy it? Second of all, I'm going to present it to the people that are represented by me, are in relationship with me. That includes clients, past clients, and VIPs. So you have to get in agreement with what you want in your life. You have to make an investment with what you want in your life. You cannot learn from the comment section for your life. It's very risky. I wouldn't recommend that. And so I just wanted to hop on here real quick because, again, we cannot, something that he said that really stood out to me. And he said that, when we talk about previous generations, and just even this generation, and he said the blessing and the curse is, no other generations have made or had as much disposable income as we do now. He had a fun fact. He said if you actually look at the data, the average income in America is over $100,000. Now, people won't tell you that because it doesn't serve the agenda, right? Whether it's in politics or whether it's in business or courses or whatever the case, right? No, you hear that and then all of a sudden, it's like, ugh, right? It's easier to say something else like, oh, everybody in the world is struggling. Some people are. Most of us aren't. And so, he said that, and he said, so there's more income, there's more disposable income than ever before. But he said, but also there's more consumerism, there's more consumption than ever before, right? You get a job, you sell it, you get a new job, you buy a house, you increase your expenses, right? That's when they talk about lifestyle creep. And so when we're saying like we want to build wealth, well, there has to be a delayed gratification. If that is your goal, right? I'm not saying to wait. I'm not saying don't enjoy your life. I'm saying, do you have a budget? Do you have a spending plan? Are you looking at your money? I tell you guys all the time, I'll never forget when I opened up that Mint app and it said I had spent $3,000 at McDonald's. I said, you are lying, but there it was, the transactions, right? What are the small holes that are sinking your ship? So I just wanted to hop on here real quick. I wanted to send extreme gratitude to Mark. Thank you so much for investing in us just with your time and your attention in answering our questions. You guys, I'm so excited about 2025. And we've got something that's coming in Houston. If you live in Houston, this is going to be an awesome opportunity because we have something very special coming in Houston. And it's going to be live, like real live, like in person live, not just on Instagram. So make sure that you guys are hitting that follow button, signing up for notifications, whatever you need to do on Instagram so that way you know when I'm talking. Make sure you tap in because there's so much on the way. And we're so grateful to be in relationship with you. Have a great day, y'all. Bye.